Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to our Midweek program and to the next part of our series on the great devotees of the Lord. Today, we'll be hearing about another great devotee of the Lord, Vidura, from our speaker today, His Grace Saciprana Gaurhari Prabhu. Prabhu is a regular on our platforms and so wonderfully describes various topics and so expertly does so as well. Saciprana Prabhu has been a devotee in ISKCON for over 20 years, rendering invaluable services of varying levels, and Prabhu is a disciple of His Holiness Jai Pataka Swami. We're always very grateful to Saciprana Prabhu for taking the time out to honor us with his association and his wise words. And without further ado, I'd like to hand over to him to take it away. Prabhu, if you're ready, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Karthik Prabhu, for the kind introduction. Hare Krishna, everyone. So today we have the great fortune of discussing and hearing about Sri Vidura, one of the very well-known and great devotees of the Lord. Before we start, we will start with our Mangalachan prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadati Swap Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Krupa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Nama Eva Kevalam Kalau Nasti Eva Gatiranyada Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Krupa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurum Deenatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. So we'll continue with our midweek program. Today we'll be discussing about Sri Vidura, one of the greatest devotees of Lord Krishna. So according to the Vedic principles, there are three stages of spiritual advancement. They are Sambandha, Abhideya and Prayojana. Sambandha means to establish, to understand our relationship with the Supreme Lord. Abhideya means to act in that relationship. And then finally, Prayojan is the ultimate goal. Prayojan is the ultimate goal, which is to develop love of Godhead. Prema Pumarto Mahan. We know there are 4 Purusharthas, and then the highest is the Panchama Purushartha, which is Prema. Prema Pumarto Mahan. So all the activities that we perform in our day-to-day life, from the time we wake up to the time we sleep, we should make sure our activities fall within these 3, Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojana. Otherwise, it's a sign that we are not progressing in the path of bhakti. Even as we progress, even during sleep also, we will be able to think of Krishna. So until we come to that stage, we have to make sure our day-to-day activities fall within these categories. And especially we know there are 9 important limbs of bhakti, and among them Shravanam and Kirtanam are considered to be most important for devotees, especially sadhakas who are trying to make progress on the path of bhakti. For us, Shravanam and Kirtanam are very important. Shravanam means hearing, Kirtanam means to glorify or to chant or to sing the glories of the Lord and His devotees. So as part of this Shravanam, it's not just hearing about the Supreme Lord, it is also about hearing about the devotees. Because when we hear about devotees, when we study the lives of devotees, we can understand their absorption in the path of bhakti, we can understand their dedication to Lord Krishna, we can understand their dedication to the scriptures and to follow the instructions of the scriptures. So like this we can learn so many things from the lives of great devotees. And by learning, the ultimate goal of learning is to apply in our life, so that we can also follow the footsteps of great devotees and make our life perfect, become devotees. So Vidura is one such devotee of Lord Krishna. And he is, we will see in today's discussion, we will see that Vidura is none other than Yamaraj, Dharmaraj himself. So he is a great devotee of Lord Krishna, is to apply in our life. So that, sorry, I just heard a replay of some audio. So Vidura is a great devotee of Lord Krishna. In Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto itself, Vidura is being glorified. And Vidura is being glorified by Yudhishthira Maharaj. Yudhishthira Maharaj, the elder Pandava brothers of, the elder brother of the Pandavas, who himself is a great devotee of Lord Krishna. Yudhishthira Maharaj is a great devotee of Lord Krishna. And also, Yudhishthira Maharaj happens to be the son of Yamaraj. So here we see Yudhishthira Maharaj glorifying Vidura. He glorifies him immensely. And specifically there is one verse, one beautiful verse that Yudhishthira Maharaj says in the glorification of Vidura. Yudhishthira Maharaj says, Bhavadvida Bhagavatas Tirtha Bhuta Swayam Vibho Tirthi Kurvanti Tirthani Swantastena Gadabruta. This is a very, very, very beautiful verse, and especially Srila Prabhupada also quoted this multiple times. Our Gurujan also, they quote this verse, Tirthi Kurvanti Tirthani, this line specifically multiple times. So let's try to understand what this means. Bhavatvida Bhagavatas. So here Yudhishthira Maharaj is glorifying Vidura by saying, O Vidura, devotees like yourself, Bhavatvida Bhagavatas. Bhagavata, we know Bhagavatam, book Bhagavatam. But here Yudhishthira Maharaj is referring to Vidura as Bhagavata. So we hear that there is a book Bhagavata and there is a person Bhagavata. So this is what it is. This is what Yudhishthira Maharaj is saying, that Vidura, you are a Bhagavat. You are the person Bhagavata. So we are reading from book Bhagavatam, but here Yudhishthira Maharaj is glorifying Vidura that you are a person Bhagavata. And then he says, Tirtha Bhuta Swayam Vibho. You are Swayam, you are personally Tirtha. You are holy place personified. And then he says, Tirthi Kurvanti Tirthani. He says, you are actually, you have the potency to convert a place into a holy place. Or another explanation that is given is, holy places actually become holy places because of devotees like you. Tirthi Kurvanti Tirthani. That is the greatness of devotees, a Bhagavata. And why? So Yudhishthira Maharaj is glorifying. All in the first 3 lines, Yudhishthira Maharaj is glorifying Vidura. But why is this glorification apt for Vidura? The 4th line explains. Because Swantas Tena Gadabruta. Swanta, Swa-anta, within your heart, Stena is situated. Swantastena Gadabruta. Gadabruta is another name for Krishna. We know Lord Krishna in the form of Vishnu holds Gada. Bruta means holder. Gadabruta means one who holds the Gada. And Krishna's another name is Gadabruta. So because devotees like Vidura hold Lord Krishna in their heart, that is why they are holy place. Because where does Krishna reside? Krishna resides only in a place where it is holy, it is pure. Because Krishna is pure, so he will naturally stay in a place where it is pure. And this purity is not at the material level. This purity is at the spiritual level. So Vidura, being a great devotee of the Lord, his heart fully spiritually pure, he is carrying Krishna in his heart. And because of that, Vidura, he himself is a holy place. And also because Krishna is there with him, he has the potency to purify all the places. Wherever he goes, that's a tirtha. Wherever he also says that tirthi kurvanti tirthani. That means you actually purify even the holy places. The holy places become holy because of devotees like you. So like this, Yudhishthira Maharaj glorifies Vidura. And this specific verse, it applies to all great devotees. Though Yudhishthira Maharaj is speaking specifically in reference to Vidura, but this applies to all great devotees. So we should always aspire to be in the association of great devotees, great Vaishnavas, and we should learn from them. It's not just about being in the association of great Vaishnavas, but we should actually learn from them. We should take their instructions to heart and implement in our life so that we can make progress. So today, as we discuss, we will see how Vidura, being a great devotee, somebody who is in the association of Vidura did not take his benefit. So we will see that today. Okay. So in today's session, primarily, Vidura's life and his contributions are immense. So it's very difficult to cover all of it in 50 minutes. But we'll try to briefly hear about the birth of Vidura. We'll try to hear about his past, who he was in the past, and then his contribution to Hastinapur and the Kuru dynasty. And we will also briefly hear about his conversation with Uddhava and Maitreya, which is mentioned in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So we'll touch upon some of these topics. So first, let's try to understand the birth of Vidura. So it is explained in the scriptures that once Varunadev and Ganga, they were sporting. They were husband and wife, and on a full moon day, they were sporting. They were playing, having fun. And it so happened that Brahma also happened to come to that same place. And by some divine arrangement, Varunadev happened to sprinkle some water on Brahma. Few drops on Brahma. And Brahma was not pleased with this behavior of Varunadev. Brahma, who is the topmost being in this material world, was not happy with this behavior, because Varunadev is also an exalted personality, and exalted personalities are expected to behave in proper way. So this behavior of Varunadev was not according to the scriptures. It's not appropriate for Varunadev to behave like this. So we have to learn this from this lesson, that we have to learn from this incident that we also, especially having taken to the path of bhakti, we should also behave very carefully. And wearing this tilak, wearing the Vaishnava attire, everyone expects certain level of behavior from all of us. And we should make sure we follow the etiquette, Vaishnava etiquette. Even whether we are in this Vaishnava costume or not, at work, not all of us are able to wear tilak. not all of us are able to go in Vaishnava attire. So even when we are not in Vaishnava attire, we should still behave as Vaishnavas. That is important. So same way, Varunadev, being an exalted personality, being one of the important demigods, is also expected to behave in a proper way. But Brahma, seeing that Varunadev misbehaved, Brahma cursed Varunadev. And this curse is actually to elevate, uplift Varunadev. It is not out of disgust or out of jealous or envy or any of those negative characteristics. It is just to uplift Varunadev, to teach him a lesson and make him a better being. So Brahma cursed Varunadev to take birth on earth as a human being, and Brahma also cursed Ganga Devi to go to earth and marry Varuna. So this Varunadev happened to take birth as Shantanu, King Shantanu in the Kuru dynasty, one of the famous kings in the Kuru dynasty. So King Shantanu came in the dynasty of the Kurus, and it so happened that Ganga was flowing near his kingdom, and he happened to marry Ganga. And over the period of time, I won't go into the details of all of the stories because it will take forever. So I will try to narrate the high important points of these stories. So Mother Ganga, eventually she gives birth to Devavrata, who later becomes Bhishma, one of the Vasus. So, and after that, Ganga leaves Shantanu Maharaj. And Shantanu Maharaj, later he marries Satyavati. Satyavati is a Matsya Kanya, and Shantanu Maharaj marries Satyavati. And through Satyavati, Shantanu Maharaj begets two children, two sons. Who are they? Chitravirya and Chitrangada and Vichitravirya. Those are the two sons that Shantanu Maharaj and Satyavati have. Unfortunately, Shantanu Maharaj dies when the kids are very small. Even before they grew to an age where they can take over the kingdom, even before that itself, Shantanu Maharaj left this world. And Chitrangada, one of the sons, also dies little bit after that. Before he gets married, Chitrangada also died. So at this point, only Bhishma and Vichitravirya are left to take care of the Kuru kingdom. But it so happened that Bhishma took a vow not to accept the kingdom, not to become the king. So it ended up that Vichitravirya was made the king. Though he was not very strong, though he was not very powerful ruler, still because he came in the dynasty of the Kurus, he was the only heir left for the kingdom. So Bhishma, he personally crowned Vichitravirya as the king. Though Vichitravirya was the king, but still Bhishma was really protecting the kingdom. Anybody come to attack the kingdom, Bhishma was countering them. Bhishma was defeating them. And nobody actually attacked the kingdom because everyone was afraid of Bhishma. Bhishma is very strong. He even almost defeated Parshuram also. Parshuram is none other than Lord Krishna's, he's an incarnation of Lord Krishna. And Bhishma, he defeated Parshuram. Actually, it is explained, our acharyas explained that Parshuram was not defeated. Parshuram voluntarily, to facilitate the whole pastime, he voluntarily kept his arms down. He did not fight with Bhishma. So Bhishma was very powerful. It's not that Bhishma was not powerful. Bhishma was very powerful. He is Gangaputra. He was taught in the heavenly kingdoms the warfare, how to fight. the skills he was taught in heavenly kingdom. So he's well versed in the battlefield. So nobody actually attacked the kingdom, but whoever attacked, Bhishma was able to counter them, and he was able to protect the kingdom. So over a period of time, Vichitravirya grew, and when he came to the age of marriage, Bhishma went and brought 3 girls, Amba, Ambika, Ambalika. He brought them by defeating Shalva. Shalva was one of the kings who I think was about to marry Amba, Ambalika, Ambika and Ambalika. But Bhishma, defeating Shalva, he brought these 3 girls and to give in marriage to Vichitravirya. So that was the plan. But among these 3, Amba did not agree to marry to marry Vichitravirya. And so she was let go, and then Ambika and Ambalika ended up marrying Vichitravirya. And Amba, she performed various penances, austerities, and she to take birth as a man and become the cause of death of Bhishma. And Amba came as Shikandi. Eventually, in the next life, Amba came as Shikandi, and he ultimately became the reason for the fall of Bhishma Dev on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And Vichitravirya, unfortunately, also died before having any children. So now the kingdom had no king. Bhishma was protecting the kingdom, but there is no one to carry forward. The Kuru dynasty was going to end because Vichitravirya, the only son, the only heir to the throne, only king in the Kuru dynasty, has died, and there is no one else to take over the position of the king, of the throne. So now Satyavati, the mother of Vichitravirya, out of concern for the Kuru dynasty and for the kingdom and all the citizens, she remembered her another son. Mother Satyavati, she also had another son, Vyasadev. Vyasadev is the son of Satyavati and Parashara Muni. And this happened before the marriage between Shantanu and Satyavati. So it's another story. I don't want to go into that. But Vyasadev was the son of Satyavati. And Vyasadev, we know, he is none other than the literary incarnation of Lord Krishna. And after Vyasadev was born, he gave a boon to his mother. He said, "O mother Satyavati, whenever you need any help, you remember me and I will come to you. I will immediately, wherever I am, as soon as you remember me, I will come to you." So Mother Satyavati, she remembered this boon of Vyasadev, and she immediately remembered her son. And according to the olden norms, it is said that a brother-in-law is allowed to impregnate his brother's wife. A brother is allowed to impregnate his brother's wife if the brother is not alive and if there is a necessity. And this is not allowed in Kali Yuga. This was only allowed in the previous yugas, and only when there is a necessity. And this is not a matter of sense gratification. It is purely a matter of duty. Just so that the kingdom can continue, the dynasty can continue, the kingdom can be protected, a king can be established, this was allowed. So Mother Satyavati, knowing this norms, she remembered Vyasadev, and she requested Vyasadev to perform this duty. So Vyasadev, being the personification of Vedas, knowing the intention of Satyavati, and for the higher cause, Vyasadev, his Trikalagna, he knows that in the future, what was going to happen, the Pandavas, Kauravas, battlefield, Kurukshetra, all of this Vyasadeva knew. So he agreed to the request of Mother Satyavati. And first, Vyasadeva, he united with Ambika. And Vyasadeva, we know, he's a great sage. He was not living in kingdom. He was not living in an opulent palace. He was just living in the forest. He was not shaving. He was not wearing clean clothes. He was not even brushing his teeth. He was aged, so his skin was all wrinkled. He was dark in complexion. And it is explained that even his teeth were also almost black in color. So looking at this form of Vyasadeva, when Vyasadeva went to meet Ambika, Ambika was frightened. It is explained that Ambika and Ambalika, they were actually expecting Bhishma Dev to come. But seeing Vyasadeva, Ambika was frightened and she closed her eyes. She closed her eyes looking at Vyasadeva. And because of this, when Vyasadeva and Ambika united, a son was born, but because Ambika closed her eyes, the son was blind. So Vyasadeva explained this to Satyavati, that Ambika closed her eyes, so that's why the son, there will definitely be a son that will be born, but that son will be blind. So now Mother Satyavati was not happy. She wanted a king who is physically fit, not somebody who is blind. So she requested Vyasadeva to unite with Ambalika. Now Vyasadeva agreed to that proposal as well, and then he went to meet Ambalika. Now Ambika had already informed Ambalika about Vyasadeva, and Ambalika was also told not to close her eyes. But though all these instructions were given, unfortunately Ambalika, when she looked at Vyasadeva, she kept her eyes open, but she turned pale out of, again, looking at the form of Vyasadeva. And because of this, Vyasadeva told Mother Satyavati that a son will be born, but he will be pale. Now again, Mother Satyavati, she was again not happy. She thought, again, this boy who will be born, he is also not 100% physically fit. So she requested third time, Vyasadeva, she humbly requested Vyasadeva, please, one more time, unite with Ambika. So Vyasadeva agreed, and he said that this is the last. Because even though this is allowed according to the Vedas, but Vyasadeva did not want to overdo it. So Vyasadeva agreed, and he went to unite with Ambika. But Ambika, she put in her place a maid servant. One of her close maid servant was put in place of Ambika. Only Ambika did this. Only Ambika knew this. No one else knew this. But Vyasadeva, he knew this. And this maid servant, when Vyasadeva entered, was very respectful to Vyasadeva. She paid obeisances to Vyasadeva. She made him sit, and she served him nicely. She massaged his feet. She took care of Vyasadeva very nicely. And Vyasadeva was also very pleased with this maid servant. And from their union, a son was born who was named Vidura. And this Vidura is actually an incarnation of Yamaraja. So Vidura is the son born out of the boy who was born out of the union between Vyasadeva and the maid servant. So this is the story how Vidura was born. Now I said that Vidura was an incarnation of Yamaraja. So let's try to understand what happened. Why did Yamaraj take birth as the son of a Shudra or Shudri, maid servant. So it is explained that once there was a great sage, a great Brahmana sage by the name Mandavya. So Mandavya Muni was very famous Brahmana. He was constantly meditating on the Lord. He was performing tapasya, austerities for many, many years. In front of his ashram, he just used to stand straight and lift his arms up in the air in the prayerful form. He used to put his palms together, and in a prayerful mood, he raised his hands and he was performing tapasya. Like this, he was performing tapasya for many, many years. And one day, some thieves stole some property from the king, from the kingdom. They stole some property and they were leaving the kingdom. So at that time, the king's soldiers, they saw the thieves and they started chasing the thieves. Now these thieves, trying to escape the soldiers of the local king, they came into the forest, especially to the ashram of Mandavya Muni, and they threw all the stolen property in Mandavya Muni's ashram and they ran away from there. Now the soldiers, searching all over the place, they also came to the forest, they also approached the ashram, and they entered the ashram and they searched the ashram and they saw the stolen property. Now immediately they thought that, this sage, whoever is standing here, maybe he is also one of the thieves. And they searched around in the forest and they eventually caught the thieves also. So they brought the thieves and Mandavya Muni back to the kingdom. And they questioned Mandavya Muni for a long time. But Mandavya Muni just kept silent. He was just in his meditative mood. He was just meditating on the Lord and he did not respond to the soldiers. After trying for a long time, since Mandavya Muni did not speak anything, they thought he was also one of the thieves. So as a punishment, they told the king that these thieves, they stole your property. And as was the custom in that kingdom, all the thieves, the punishment that was given to them was to make them sit on a trident. The Trishul that Lord Shiva carries, something like that. A weapon which is sharp edged, they were made to sit on the weapon or stand on the weapon. And all the thieves, including along with Mandavya Muni, were put on different tridents, and within a short period of time, within few moments, all the thieves died. But Mandavya Muni was alive. Mandavya Muni was the only one that was alive. And during this time, it is explained that all the demigods and some of the sages, they used to come in various forms like birds, and they used to talk to Mandavya Muni. They used to ask how he was doing. And these conversations, even the soldiers who were guarding that location were also able to hear. So now they went and told the king about this. And immediately the king understood that this person who his soldiers punished is not an ordinary person. He must be a great personality. So immediately the king came running to that place. He begged forgiveness from Mandavya Muni and he immediately released Mandavya Muni. He fell at his feet. He repeatedly offered obeisances and asked for forgiveness. And he freed Mandavya Muni from that punishment. And Mandavya Muni, at this stage, Mandavya Muni could have become angry at the king, but he did not. He did not blame the king. Instead, he decided to go to the root cause the root cause of this, the decision of the punishment. We know in this material world, Yamaraj is the decision maker for dharma, to establish dharma. So he, Mandavya Muni, he went to Yamaraj. He asked Yamaraj, "Oh Yamaraj, your dharma, how come you try to punish me? How come you try to kill me? I am a Brahmana, I am a sage, I am doing my tapasya, I did not commit any mistake, and why did you try to punish me? Why did you try to kill me?" Then immediately Yamaraj responded that, "Oh Mandavya, when you were a small child, you were actually piercing an ant. In some places it is said an ant, and in some places it is said a bird. But he was actually, Mandavya, when he was a small child, he was piercing a sharp object in another animal or an ant, another bird or an ant. So that is why, O Mandavya, as a punishment for your wrong activity, you were made to sit on the trident. But you never killed any living entity. You did not kill the ant, you were only piercing them. You did not kill the bird or the ant, you were only piercing them. So that is why you are still alive. You only pierced them, so that's why you are also pierced with this trident." Now it makes sense, right? Like a punishment, he pierced, so he got pierced. So it makes sense. But then there's a problem. The problem is that Mandavya was a child at that time. And so Mandavya, who knew scriptures, morality, the rules of dharma, he immediately responded to Yamaraj. He said, "See, a child does not know right or wrong. Especially it is said that up until 12 years, a child is considered to be ignorant, and he should not be punished for sins if it is especially done out of ignorance. So now you only told me that I did this abominable activity when I was a small child. So as a protector of dharma, you should know this. And instead of enforcing dharma, instead of ignoring the activities that I did when I was a small child, you still considered it, and you tried to punish me for those things for which I should have been forgiven. So because of this, because of you trying to kill a Brahmana or punish a Brahmana who was not supposed to be punished for activities that were performed before 12 years of age, so now I curse you. I curse you that you take birth as a Shudra on earth. You take birth from the womb of a Shudra. You take birth as a Shudra. So again, this, if we see this curse, all of this is like a big puzzle that is slowly unfolding. And the reason why this is happening is again because there is a future for this. The future is the battlefield of Kurukshetra, where all the evil will be destroyed. So Dharmaraj, he accepts the curse of Mandavya Muni, and he takes birth from the union of Vedavyas, Vyasadev, and the maid servant of Ambika and Ambalika. So this is how, because of the curse of Mandavya Muni, Vidura is born. Yamaraj takes birth as Vidura. Now it is also explained that when Yamaraj came to this planet as Vidura, the post of Dharma, protecting Dharma, punishing the living entities, was left vacant. So Aryama, who is another demigod who is in charge of the ancestors. Now he became the Yamaraj. He basically started officiating both of these portfolios, the portfolio of ancestors and the portfolio of dharma, punishing living entities and maintaining dharma. See, just even in this material world, let's say if in the government there are various cabinet positions, and if one cabinet position, if the minister of one cabinet position falls sick, then someone else takes in charge, covers that role for the time being until the original person becomes well. So same way, when Yamaraj came to the earth as Vidura, Aryama, another demigod, took in charge of Yamaraj's role. So now there are a couple of lessons that we can learn from this story. Yamaraj, being the personification of dharma, how can he make mistake? Right? We may think, right? How can Dharma himself make mistake? Dharmaraj himself make mistake? It seems odd. We know human system, there are so many mistakes. Human beings commit so many mistakes. And there's a saying that Devatas never make mistakes, but that is not true. Except for the Supreme Lord, Krishna, all living entities are prone to make mistakes, whether they are Devatas, demigods, or whether they are human beings, whoever they are, they all make mistakes. A very good example is Indra. We know Indra, how many mistakes we see Indra committed in Srimad Bhagavatam. How he troubled Brajavasis, how he fought with Krishna when Krishna went to get Parijata flower. How he misbehaved with Ahalya. Like that we see so many mistakes being done by Indra. Indra being the king of demigods, he has done so many mistakes. So we can understand that, demigods also are prone to make mistakes. Definitely, the demigods have more knowledge, they have more power, more control than human beings, but they are also prone to make mistakes. It's not that they will never commit mistakes. They will also commit mistakes. But still, it is only up till the demigods. Above the demigods is the Supreme Lord Krishna. Krishna never makes any mistakes. All living entities can make mistakes, but Krishna can never make mistakes. That's the first lesson, that living entities are prone to make mistakes. Dharmaraj can also make mistakes. Now the second lesson that we can learn from this story is that no one gets punished disproportionately. No one gets punished disproportionately. It may seem from Dharmaraj's standpoint, that it was the judgment was not apt, it was not appropriate, but one's suffering, we know, is according to one's karma. No one can inflict punishment or sorrow on another living entity beyond what the living entity deserves. There is one beautiful verse that Srila Radha Govinda Maharaj, he quoted. I think this is from Goswami Tulsidas. He says, Kauna kahu sukhu dukhu kar data, nijakruta karma bhoga sabu brata. Everyone will go through, they will bhoga, they will enjoy or suffer their karma, the reactions of their karma. One's sorrow or happiness is not under the control of anyone else. It's not that somebody is inflicting pain on me, or it's not that somebody is giving joy to me. The amount of joy and sorrow that I have to go through, it's already determined. It's just simply a reaction of my past karma. So here also it is explained that one's suffering is ordained by the Supreme Lord. according to one's karma. We cannot hold anyone else accountable for our suffering, or we cannot give credit to anyone else for our joy. This is at the material level only. Okay, so that's an important lesson for us to learn. So this is the birth of Vidura and the background of Vidura, how Yamaraj took birth as Vidura. Now let's go a little bit fast forward. We have only 15 more minutes, so I'll try to go through some important points. So Vidura, so Dhritarashtra, Pandu and Vidura, these were the three sons born from Vyasadeva, and these three were under the protection of Bhishma. Bhishma took care of these three very nicely. He educated them. He gave them a lot of Brahminical values. He gave them a lot of Kshatriya fighting principles. He had Drona. He had nice teachers for Pandu, Dhritarashtra and Vidura. And Pandu became excellent in military prowess. Pandu was well known for his military prowess. Dhritarashtra was known for his strength, and Vidura was known for his wisdom. Vidura, being Yamaraj himself, carried the same wisdom into his life, though he was born as a son of Shudra. He still had the same wisdom that Yamaraj had. And in the Mahabharata itself, Vidura was recognized as a very wise person. It is explained that Vidura was as wise as Krishna. Vidura was only second to Krishna. He was so wise. Generally, the Pandavas were always taking counsel from Krishna. They were always taking guidance from Krishna. But when Krishna was not there, they were also taking guidance from Vidura. So they had so much respect to Vidura. They had so much faith and trust in Vidura. And Vidura, being a devotee, being a wise personality, he was always favorable to the Pandavas, because Pandavas were also very soft at heart. They were very polite, humble, kind to everyone, respectful to everyone. So Vidura naturally had affection to the Pandavas. And at the same time, Vidura was acting like a prime minister in the Kuru kingdom. Vidura was always giving guidance and instructions to Dhritarashtra, and but unfortunately, Dhritarashtra was not following whatever Vidura's guidance was. The guidance that Vidura gave to Dhritarashtra was compiled into a scripture called Vidura Niti. All of the principles that Vidura gave to Dhritarashtra was compiled as Vidura Niti, and it's a very elaborate compilation. The word Niti means morality, how to behave properly as a human being. And it is said that Vidura Niti, actually Chanakya Pandit, we know Chanakya has given so many principles, so many rules, moral rules. And I heard that Chanakya Niti was actually based on Vidura Niti. And even Srila Prabhupada also mentioned in so many lectures, he glorifies Vidura for his wisdom and for the moral principles that Vidura was instructing to Dhritarashtra. But unfortunately, Dhritarashtra was not adhering or taking the instructions of Vidura to his heart. So though Vidura was Dharma personified and Dhritarashtra was in the association of Vidura, but still that association did not really have any effect on Dhritarashtra. He was not following the instructions given by Vidura. So eventually, when the time to select a king came, it was Pandu was made the king, because Dhritarashtra, though Dhritarashtra was older, he was blind, and a blind person cannot lead. So that's why Dhritarashtra was not made the king. Instead, Pandu was made the king. And Vidura was made as the prime minister because Vidura was very expert in giving proper direction. So Vidura was made the prime minister. Vidura was taking care of all of the administrative duties. He was making sure all the king was governing everything correctly. Everyone was being taken care of properly. All the administrative duties Vidura was taking care of. And Vidura was also very protective towards the Pandavas. So there were so many times when the Kauravas, especially Duryodhan, tried to kill the Pandavas. One famous instance is where the Pandavas were sent to a big palace which was made out of lac. Lac is a material that can easily catch fire. So the Pandavas were sent to that palace made of lac, and Vidura knew this. So Vidura, he in front of everyone conveyed this message to Yudhishthir. And Vidura conveyed this message in a local dialect. And this local dialect only very few people knew. And nobody in the kingdom, nobody in the rulers knew it. The king or the ministers or the soldiers or the fighters, warriors, whoever were there, nobody knew this local dialect. Only Yudhishthir Maharaj and Vidura knew this local dialect. So Vidura conveyed this message to Yudhishthir through this local dialect, and Yudhishthir understood that there is a plan to kill them. So in the night, the plan was to lit this palace on fire in the night. So before itself, Yudhishthir and the Pandavas, all of them escaped the house, that palace. Eventually the palace was burnt, and everyone thought that the Pandavas were burnt to death, but Vidura protected them because Vidura gave them the information about this house of lac which was going to be burnt. The Pandavas were protected. Similarly, there were so many instances where Vidura was always favoring the Pandavas. Vidura spoke very strongly to Dhritarashtra when the decision was made to hold the gambling match. Vidura was totally against it. He tried to convince Dhritarashtra to stop it, but then Dhritarashtra did not listen. The gambling match happened, and we know how Draupadi Devi was disrespected, and that is when Vidura seriously, very severely spoke to Dhritarashtra, and finally Dhritarashtra agreed and stopped the gambling match. And then the Pandavas were again sent back to their kingdom. And then after some time again, Duryodhana somehow forced Dhritarashtra to request for another gambling match. And again Dhritarashtra asked Vidura to be the messenger, and Vidura went and conveyed the message. But Vidura was telling Pandavas not to play. But somehow, due to the Kshatriya principles, Yudhishthira Maharaj agreed to play, and that's when they lost the gambling match, and the Pandavas had to go to the forest, exile for 14 years in the forest. And at this time, Kunti Devi, the mother of Pandavas, was very old. So Vidura, being a kind devotee, he told the Pandavas, Yudhishthira Maharaj specifically, that at this time Kunti Devi is very old. Previously, when you went to the forest, at that time Kunti Devi was little younger, so she was able to tolerate the difficulties in the forest. But now that she is very old, she will not be able to tolerate the difficulties in the forest. So I request you to please keep Mother Kunti with me. I will take care of her. I will make sure she is protected and she is taken care of. All of her needs are taken care of. So Vidura was married to a chaste lady named Sulabha. So Vidura and his wife Sulabha took care of Kunti Devi when the Pandavas were exiled to the forest. At that time, they consoled Kunti Devi, because it's not 1 day or 2 days. Imagine a mother living with her, imagine a mother that too who is a widow, living without her sons, her only sons. She had to stay away from her sons. Not for 1 day, not for 1 week, not for 1 year, for 14 years. And she does not even have any information about them. These days, we can send an email or a call or WhatsApp message. We have so many ways in communicating with our dear ones, loud and near and dear ones. But those days it was not like that. So Mother Kunti was in great distress. She was feeling very sad. So in this tough time, Vidura and his wife actually consoled and took care of Kunti Devi. And so we can see how nice Vidura was, but unfortunately Dhritarashtra could not take advantage of such great devotee and personality as Vidura. And one more nice story in the life of Vidura. When the war of Kurukshetra was about to happen, Krishna came to Hastinapur as a peace messenger, Shanti Duta. And Duryodhana, being a trick personification, he tried to deceive Krishna. He planned a great royal reception. He got a opulent feast prepared for Krishna to welcome Krishna. He was thinking that Duryodhana was thinking that he can bribe Krishna and make Krishna be on the side of Kauravas. But Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, knows who Duryodhana is. So Krishna simply refused the offer of Duryodhana, and instead he went to Vidura's house. And Krishna rejected Duryodhana's reception, the feast that Duryodhana prepared, and instead he went to Vidura's house. And at the house of Vidura, at the time when Krishna went, Vidura was not there. Only his wife was there. Wife Sulabha was there. So Sulabha was also a great devotee of Lord Krishna. She welcomed Krishna. She gave him a nice place to sit, and she gave him proper reception. And then she offered him something to eat. And what did she offer? She offered bananas. It is explained that that's what they had at their home at that time. So she brought some bananas to offer to the Lord. And she was in deep ecstasy seeing Krishna. She was very happy that Krishna came to her house. Krishna accepted her reception, and with tears, loving tears in her eyes, she started offering bananas to Krishna. And Krishna ate, and after a short period, Krishna left. Now, after Krishna left, in few moments, Vidura came home. And then Vidura came to know that Krishna actually came to his house. So immediately Vidura ran to his house, but unfortunately by that time Krishna left. So he was feeling sad, but at the same time he talked to his wife. So what did Krishna say? What did Krishna do? Did you take care of him nicely? Did you feed him anything? Did you feed something to Krishna? Then Sulabha said, yes, I fed bananas. I only had bananas at that time, so I fed bananas to Krishna. And then Vidura thought, okay, let me see how much you offered. And they turned around to see where she threw the banana peels. But instead, to their surprise, they actually saw bananas. They did not see the peels. They saw bananas. So Sulabha, out of her ecstasy, out of her love to Krishna, she actually forgot what she was offering. Instead of offering the banana fruit to Krishna, she removed the peel, she threw the banana, and she offered the peel to Krishna. So this is what happens when, devotees are so much in love for Krishna, they forget the material platform. They are completely in ecstasy. They serve Krishna in their bhav, in their love and affection. And Krishna could have said, right, hey, you're giving me the peel, give me banana, why are you giving me the peel? The peel is bitter. So why are you giving me the peel? Give me the banana. But Krishna did not say that. Krishna lovingly accepted the peel. Not just one peel. It is said several peels Krishna has accepted. So Krishna is Bhavagrahi. Bhavagrahi Janardana. He accepts our bhava. He's not looking for rice. He's not looking for sweets. He's not looking for costly ornaments, silverware, whatever, he's not looking for anything. Krishna is simply looking for our love. Krishna is thirsty for our love. So this is another nice pastime that happened in the life of Vidura. So both Vidura and Sulabha were looking at each other and they were simply amazed by the wonderful loving nature of the Lord, that the Lord just accepts our love. He ignores everything else. So then also when Krishna went to meet the Kauravas, Dhritarashtra and the Kauravas, Vidura actually told to Krishna before itself that don't go there. Duryodhana has evil plans. He may try to do something to hurt you or to disrespect you. So please don't go there. But Krishna says, it's okay. This has to go through. We have to go through this. The Kurukshetra war has to happen so that all the evil personifications in this world will be destroyed. So with this, Krishna went and Krishna actually showed Virat Rupa. And Vidura was also there at that time and Vidura was also able to see the Virat Rupa. And Vidura tried to convince Dhritarashtra to stop this behavior of Duryodhana. Vidura told Dhritarashtra that you have a choice of giving up 100 sons, losing 100 sons, or losing one son. You make the decision. The decision is in your hand. This one son Duryodhana is going to be the cause of the destruction of all of your children. 100 sons that you have, all of them will die because of this one child Duryodhana, because of this one son Duryodhana. But if you give up this son Duryodhana, then your other 99 sons will be protected. So you decide whether you want 0 sons or 99 sons. But unfortunately, Dhritarashtra was blind not only physically, he was also blind at an intellectual level. He was also blind mentally. He was also blind spiritually. So the words of Vidura did not go touch the heart of Dhritarashtra. And Duryodhana happened to hear these instructions that Vidura was giving to Dhritarashtra, and he yelled at Vidura. He disrespected Vidura. Vidura was actually an uncle to Duryodhana. He was very respectable and he was also prime minister. But Duryodhana, ignoring all of it, out of his ego, out of his envy towards the Pandavas and to Vidura also, who was supporting the Pandavas, he scolded Vidura. He said several harsh words. He said, who is this Shudra here who is trying to instruct us? He is always partial to the Pandavas. He is always trying to speak against us. We should actually kick him out of the palace. Actually, we should kill him. But because he has served this Kuru dynasty for so long faithfully, we will let him go. And the only remuneration we will give him is his life heir. We will not give him anything else. We will kick him out of the kingdom. So now for Vidura, being a prime minister, being a senior in the Kuru dynasty, being disrespected like this is not right. It's not acceptable. And even Dhritarashtra also did not speak against against Duryodhana. So Vidura understood that this is his opportunity to leave the kingdom, Hastinapur, to go away, disassociate himself from the Kuru dynasty. We see Bhishma, Drona, they had an obligation to the Kuru dynasty. But Vidura did not. Bhishma took a vow to protect the Kuru dynasty, but Vidura did not. And Drona is a teacher of the Kuru dynasty. So he had some obligation. Bhishma and Drona had some obligations to be with the Kuru dynasty, to protect the Kuru dynasty, but Vidura did not. So Vidura, he actually felt relief. Finally, he is out of Hastinapur, and he took this opportunity to go on pilgrimage. And I know we are almost out of time, so I'll speak for a few more minutes quickly and we will wrap up. So Vidura went on a long pilgrimage. He went to various holy places like Prabhasa Kshetra, the Saraswati river, holy places along the Saraswati river. He visited various temples and deities of Lord Vishnu. Like that, he was going on pilgrimage. And he eventually, he came to Yamuna, and there on the banks of Yamuna, he met Uddhava. And through Uddhava, he inquired about Krishna, the Yadus and the Kurus. And it is explained that when Vidura was asking Uddhava about Krishna, Uddhava went into ecstasy. Remembering Krishna, Uddhava went into ecstasy, and it seems he did not speak for one muhurta. For one whole muhurta, Uddhava did not speak even a single word. Muhurta is 48 minutes. So, Uddhava did not speak for 48 minutes. So, another great devotee. So, and Vidura could notice this, the symptoms in the body of Uddhava, Vidura could notice, and Vidura understood that Uddhava is a great devotee. So, Uddhava eventually he narrates the entire pastimes of Krishna right from birth to the disappearance, everything. Uddhava narrates to Vidura, and then Vidura, knowing the exalted, understanding the exalted position of Uddhava, he wanted Uddhava to become his guru. He wanted Uddhava to become his guru, but Uddhava, out of maintaining Maryada, he told Vidura that actually you should go to Maitreya. You should learn from Maitreya. When Krishna was instructing me, at that time Maitreya Muni was also there, and Krishna personally told Maitreya to instruct you. So that's why you please go to Maitreya. You please learn from Maitreya. So this is Maryada. So we should also understand what is Maryada and what is Maryada Vyatikraman. We should not disrespect our seniors. We should be very careful. We should respect our seniors. So like that, Vidura took leave from Uddhava, and he went to meet Maitreya. And then Maitreya gave so many instructions to Vidura. Vidura actually asked so many nice questions. I know we don't have time. I wanted to discuss few of them, but maybe we can discuss that at some other time. But Vidura asked so many nice questions. And Vidura, he did not directly go to the 10th canto. He did not directly ask about Krishna's confidential pastimes. Instead, Vidura started asking basic questions. He asked questions such as how to mitigate distress. In this material world, everyone is suffering. So how to mitigate distress? Like that, he asked questions on behalf of a common man. Because Vidura knows all of this. Vidura is a great devotee, he is Dharmaraj himself, so he has all of the knowledge. But still, for the benefit of common people, he asked various questions. He asked about the Leela avatars, the Purusha avatars, Sarga, Visarga. Like this, he asked so many nice questions. And all of this is explained by Maitreya Muni. And because of these questions, we get the answers of the questions of the sages of Naimisharanya. Some of these questions, if you see, they're actually the questions of sages of Naimisharanya. So Vidura learnt all of this from Maitreya Muni. And in the same way, we should also try to seek the association of other senior Vaishnavas and hear from them submissively. Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. So we have to render service to them and inquire from them submissively, which is what Vidura also did here. And he gained a lot of knowledge. So with that, I would conclude by saying that all of us should increase our eagerness to hear Harikatha, to hear instructions from the scriptures, to understand how Krishna wants us to lead our life, how our acharyas, how our Gurujan want us to lead our life. So we have to hear and understand and implement in our life, and that's the only way we can make progress in bhakti. Otherwise, we will stay stagnant and we will not be able to make progress. And our aim of life is to make progress in bhakti and go back to the spiritual world. And this can happen when we hear, inquire submissively and hear attentively. So thank you all so much for hearing patiently and for giving me this opportunity to glorify Vidura. Please accept my humble obeisances. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for such an amazing class, so expertly summarizing the glories of Vidura. We'll open up for questions right now. If there's anyone who would like to ask a question, please raise your hand and we'll give you an opportunity. I see we already have Divya Agarwal. Nataji, if you're ready, please unmute yourself and go ahead and ask your question.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yeah, I had a question. You spoke about gambling between Pandavas and Kauravas. Now, one of the 4 regulative principles is no gambling. So I'm just wondering that Pandavas, they were like the great devotees, and they are like, when we talk about great devotees, we talk about Pandavas. So how come they were engaging in gambling?
Okay. So this is a very good question, Mataji, and the answer is multi-layered, but I'll try to keep it simple because this is a lecture in itself. So I'll try to keep it simple. According to the Kshatriya Dharma, it is explained that the Kshatriyas should never say no for a gambling match or a war. If another Kshatriya is asking for a battle, they should readily accept it. Same way, a gambling match also. It is part of the Kshatriya Dharma. They cannot say no to it. So that is one reason. And also another reason is the gambling match in itself is not bad. This particular gambling match, it became bad because of the evil Duryodhan. Because nobody keeps a wife as on the line in a gambling match. Kingdom is okay, ornaments, those are okay, but nobody keeps wife on the line in a gambling match. So it became extreme. So that is one thing. A gambling match in itself is not bad. If it's in a controlled, if it is following dharma, it is fine. So that is for the Pandavas and the Kshatriyas. Now coming to the 4 regulative principles that we have, that we follow as part of ISKCON, the rules and regulations established by Srila Prabhupada, this is mainly for Kali Yuga Jivas. In Kali Yuga, we see dharma is deteriorating day by day. And for us to practice bhakti, we have to come to the stage of goodness. Without coming to the stage of goodness, one cannot practice bhakti. And to come to the stage of goodness, one has to adhere to these 4 regulative principles. So that is why in the Kali Yuga specifically, gambling is completely it's no, we cannot gamble. So that is why it's one of the regulative principles, and it does not apply to Kshatriyas in the previous yugas and specifically to Pandavas. Does that answer your question, Mataji?
Hare Krishna. Yes, it answered my question. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for a wonderful question and a perfect answer, Saciprana Prabhu. Is there anyone else who would like to ask a question? If you would, please raise your hand and we'll give you an opportunity. Okay, Prabhu. I think that ends our session today. Thank you once again. We're always grateful to hear from you and always grateful to have you on. Thank you for taking the time out and gracing us with your association and your wisdom, and we look forward to hearing from you again. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
All right, dear devotees, just before we head off, I'd just like to make a few announcements. We have some important festivals coming up, the first festivals of 2022, the dates of which are we have Vardha Dvadasi on February 12th, we have Nityananda Tridasi on February 14th, and Gaur Purnima on March 17th. Please mark your calendars and prepare. We hope that things with COVID-19 will ease off by that time, and we'll be able to have a nice celebration at our temple here at ISKCON of Atlanta. For any other information that about our programs, about our festivals, about the temple itself, please refer to our website, our Facebook pages, and our Instagram pages, all under the name ISKCON Atlanta. We encourage you all to please join us for our virtual Sunday program and also next week's Midweek program, where we will continue this series on the great devotees of the Lord. Thank you once again for joining us every week, and thank you for joining us specifically today. And we'll now take your leave. Hare Krishna.